Wrong with that. All right, guys.
Insta too?
No, oh yeah, you're right. Good call on that. I was waiting for that. It caught me off by guard because remember it like makes you like schedule it. That's why, and it didn't do it this time, so I was a little bit off. All right, there she goes.
Insta's always slow.
Yeah, there it goes. It just takes a minute to catch up. All right, guys, welcome back to the Outdoor Drive podcast. We got Brian Osborn on from Stacking Wind Show podcast. How we doing, buddy?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Why don't we turn this key, dude? We'll get this thing right underway. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do, Brian?
All right. So Brian Osborn. Originally I'm from Ohio, the land of some big bucks. That's for you, Steve. So I spent 20 years in the Navy and retired 7 years ago, and then spent the rest. I've been living up here in Connecticut for over 20 years now, and a little bit about me. The stack. So you mentioned the Stack and Win Show podcast. What that's about? I'll just kind of glaze over it. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about it later. But what that is that's my podcast where we discuss, myself and my co-host, Josh Mosley, we discuss our challenges and our journeys with alcoholism and how we're in recovery, along with how we're trying to help other people with that. So it's a passion, I guess you could call it like a passion project for us, and how we're using different positive ways in our life to get through that. And then also we bring on guests and they get to share their stories along with it. And the goal of that is to if we can help just one person. I always say this on the show, like, if we want to make it like a Thanksgiving food drive, we'd like to help as many people as we can. But if we can help just one person, then it's a win. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, that's the big part for that. And then obviously, I mean, talking with you guys, a big passion of mine is bow hunting in general, but bow hunting. I don't really do a whole lot of gun hunting or anything else like that, duck hunting or any of that stuff. But so mine's bow hunting.
No turkeys yet either, too, man. We've been talking about that.
We
What?
can talk about turkeys forever, and I just they just don't excite me. I love when people say that elk hunting and turkey hunting are the same thing, and I'm just like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. I just want to drop the mic because you're like so professional at doing this. Like you don't even need us here. You could just go on your own, Brian. Like,
Well, I appreciate that.
so you recently just got back from an elk trip out west.
Yeah, sure did.
Why don't you go into that and kind of because it's not the first time that you've been out there. Like, how
No.
did you try and take this on, and where did that kind of passion start for you?
Okay, so uh, I'll tell you, it's something. So I've been wanting to go out west to hunt. We'll call it in air quotes big game, because that's what we always called it back in as a kid growing up in Ohio. I think the reason why we called it that was just because, I don't even think we really knew what big game was, other than deer hunting, and I guess you could lump. I'll give it to you, Steve. I guess we can lump turkeys in there. Um, but as a kid growing up, we had deer and turkeys and a few other little things in Ohio. But the idea was there was this magical place somewhere out west in the United States where you could hunt these dinosaur-like creatures, and it was always like an allure to me to go out there and do it. Well, as time went on and I got older, it was really hard for me to get the opportunity, especially with being in the Navy for most of my adult life, because I just retired, like I said, 7 years ago. So while I was running around playing Navy, I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time hunting. But then when I retired, I told myself, I said, I'm going to do this. And one of the things that I feel like, especially us East Coast hunters do, is we always see, pictures or videos or things of that nature of West Coast hunts. And we say, wow, that sounds really cool. Or wow, that looks really awesome. I'd love to do that. I want to do that. We always make those kind of statements, but we never, ever pull the trigger and do it. Right. And at first I started to fall into that trap where I was like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I can't wait. I want to do that someday. Someday, right?
One of these days,
One
yeah.
of these days, right? So I was like, and then unfortunately, right around the time I retired, and I retired in 2018. A couple years later, what happened on the planet? We got plagued with a global pandemic that like locked everybody in their houses, and you couldn't go anywhere and all this stuff. So I kind of stalled the process of being able to do those sorts of things. And I know I'm getting kind of long-winded, but I think you'll see where this all heads. Um,
I
so
guess that's what
then,
podcasts are for, though, Brian.
right? I mean, you gotta be able to build the story, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
paint the
this was
picture.
yeah, right. So what happens is we get shut down. I mean, they let it. I don't want to say they let us because I really don't like. I'm not trying to get political or anything, but I really don't like the fact that we felt like we weren't able to do a lot of things. And let's face it, in hindsight on all that, we were all scared. So we stayed home. And then my idea of going out west kind of went with that. It was like, well, I guess I better hold off on doing this. Got to protect the family, got to fill the freezer with chicken and stuff, and go out and buy all this crap and make the house a better place and safe. So then, fast forward, we get through the pandemic. Brian's like, I'm going out west. I'm going to go finally do this. I'm going to stop saying someday. Well, then I decided I was going to open my own business, as Steve can attest because he was in there. And I decided I was going to open a barbershop. And I ran that for a while. And I finally said, the first year that I was open, I was all planned to go. But then I was like, I opened in July. How's that going to look to my clients if I'm open for like 6 weeks and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey guys, sorry, but I'm taking off to go out west and chase elk for a month. So I put it back on the back burner again, so it stalled me another year. Well, then last year I decided that was enough. I was tired of saying someday. And it was like a 3-year process of planning from what I thought I was going to, all the supplies I was going to need, places I was going to go, things I was going to do, and how I was going to go about doing this to finally executing it. And I'm not of anybody made of money, and an adventure like this costs a lot. So I had already started some of the process of getting there. I already had certain things, like I had a lot of my current hunting things, but a lot of whitetail stuff doesn't translate over, because when you're sitting in a whitetail stand in the middle of December, you're not going to want that when you're in Utah, where I went in August, because it just doesn't work. So I'm sitting there trying to make all the preparations to get ready to go, and figure out what I'm going to need, because I've never done it before. I mean, I had never driven across the country.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that too, Brian. Like, you're talking about just hunting gear, but we had some long, in-depth conversation about getting the rig ready, because, like Brian just said, he drove to Utah. He didn't fly. He took his pickup truck, and he had gotten a cap, and he was doing the whole truck camping and living out of the back of the truck.
Right.
So now you're bringing in, and I remember you waited a long time for that cap to show up at Northeast Truck too. So it was
I was actually kind of concerned it wasn't going to make it in time.
Right.
I even went so far as, on that topic, I even went so far as to look at other options in the event that it didn't make it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a lot of things that had to line up for last year's trip to work out right. And and like I said, not being a guy that's made of money, I had to spread all these costs across the time frame that it took for me to get there. And that's a big thing. I think if I had to lay reasons out why guys and female, when I say guys, let me just throw something. When I say guys, I'm not trying to talk about just dudes.
Don't go all Cracker Barrel on us here, okay?
I'm not. I do that on my own show. Anyway, so back to the topic. So I think that's a lot of things that'll talk guys out of doing something, is the fact that they're like, can I afford it? Am I physically able to? Those are probably the two biggest ones. And then, how am I going to be able to accomplish this because it looks like such an overwhelming task. And what I always tell them is, well, in my case, for one, I'm 45 years old, right? For one, you got to break this down into small chunks. And you have to, and the other thing I always say is, if you think that you just think you want to do it, you're never going to. It's got to be something that you have this undying passion to want to go do in order for you to want to go do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's like anything else. Like if you're really truly passionate about something, you're going to find ways to go figure out all the minor things in the minutia to get to that point. If your passion is to figure out how to invest in cryptocurrency, you're going to figure out what you need to learn in order to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened. I started figuring it out. I set a date when I was going to go. I looked at the hunting seasons for the states I wanted to go to, and I just started working the problem backwards to get myself ready. And I knew one of the biggest ones, and I just saw a video. I think it was one of the guys at video the other day where they can have one of their clients contact them about wanting to get guided to like pick a hunt, and they could say, okay, I need you to go buy, this list of equipment, and they're like, okay, and it could be like $15,000, and they're like, and I need you to go buy all this expensive hunting clothes, and they're like, okay, and I need you to get these boots, and they're like, okay, and I need you to buy this $5,000 rifle with $2,000 scope, and they're like, okay, and I need you to go get a gym membership and spend the next 6 months getting physically ready. And they're like, ooh, back the bus up. You need me to do what? And they don't want to do it. They don't want to put in the time. They just want that to happen for them. But they'll spend all the money in the world that it takes in order to go do a hunt, but they don't want to put the time in to get physically ready. But that's for us, and this is I'm not. I've been one my whole life. East Coast hunters have no idea if they have not physically done it, what they are getting into if they go out west to hunt. It is a totally different ball game. And if you're not physically ready, you're going to be sitting at camp a lot. It only takes one day to humble an East Coast hunter.
Time out. I got questions. Why?
Hit me up.
I don't disagree at all.
No, I don't either.
And I think it goes farther than just elk hunting when it comes to, at the bare roots, it comes down to, you have a goal. Do you want to work for that goal? Yep. Or do you want to take the easy road, right? Like if it comes to just shooting a big buck on the East Coast in the woods, like, do you want to buy the best equipment and hunt the best land, and like you want it really easy, where you just like kind of climb in a tree stand and the buck comes out and you shoot it and like, ooh, look at me, I shot this giant? Or do you want to bust your ass and scout and
don't take it as an insult when I say that, because I'm an East Coast guy, and I know there's hard East Coast hunting. I'm talking, when I say that, I'm talking the physicality that comes from when you're sitting on this mountain and you're glassing. And it could be any animal. I'm just using elk because I just did it.
Yeah.
And I did it last year. And you're glassing, and you look on the mountain on the other side that you're looking through that spotting scope at, and the guy so I'll tell you in a second how I ended up meeting up with the guys that I know out there. And he's like, hey, you see the bull over there? You see the cows that are with him? And you're like, what? I don't see shit, dude. And he's like, they're right there. You see the set of aspens that look like a V, and you're like, finally you find them, and they look like two little pebbles, like barely moving on the mountainside. And he's like, let's go get them.
That's crazy.
And you're like, what'd you just say to me, dude? He's like, we're going to go get them. And you're like, and he wants to go down the shit you're sitting on and then come back up. And you're like, I'm not even used to walking across like a big field, bro.
Right.
My truck was, you know what I'm saying? Like, because let's face it, man, I'm not trying to be insulting, because like I said, I am one. We walk like 500 yards at the most, climb a stand, shiver, and like, hey, Steve, you see anything over there? Nah, bro. Okay, cool. Hey, when's your uncle gonna start sending the guys out with the rifles? Okay, cool. Listen, dude, I'm freezing. You got any soup? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do. I think to clean that
but
up,
those
Brian,
guys are. It's
yeah.
crazy.
I think it goes back to like what you said before is like, if you want to go elk hunting, you gotta fucking want it. You
Yeah.
You gotta want it.
can't just half want it, right?
Those
And when
guys are just used to it. We gotta want it.
right. And when it comes to the physicality side of things and putting in that work, like I was talking about, like an East Coast, like you gotta want it. And
It's
I
no
think
different than if you wanted to go crab fishing on the Bering Sea. You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to go be a
Yeah.
crab fisherman, you gotta want it.
yeah.
You got to be that guy.
It just doesn't. Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
start a podcast and you want to be a podcaster, you got to want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're just doing it because it'd be really cool to have a new profile picture for your Instagram to show everybody that you like caught a crab in the Bering Sea, like it ain't happening. Like you
Right.
gotta
want it, man.
You gotta wake up thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. For sure, 100%. So
how did you meet the guys out there? That's my question.
So this is crazy.
It's a good
Because
story.
there's always some crazy story about how
There
you
is.
met some dude in another state and you were in a gas
And
state. Like,
I give
there's always something
all
good.
the credit. I give all the credit to Josh. And if he listens to this, I tell you, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't even be there.
Josh,
So what happened is,
Josh.
yeah, really. So what happened is, I told the way it worked out was this. I'm glad I didn't, but I wish I would have, kind of, sort of. So I know it sounds weird, but I'll get there. So I was determined to hunt Utah because everybody goes to Colorado. Everybody does, right? Everybody goes to Colorado from the East Coast. Why do they go to Colorado? If you guys had to ask yourself a question, why would you go to Colorado to elk hunt? If you were looking into it right now, not knowing, maybe you know more than I think, but if you didn't know anything about it, why would you go to Colorado?
If I had to guess, and I think they've changed it recently, but like back a couple years ago, it was like super easy over the counter.
Yep.
And if you're coming from the east, it's like the first stop.
You nailed it. There's the two reasons, right?
Same reason why everyone goes to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Pennsylvania deer suck. Ohio are giants. They got big deer in Ohio, and it's the closest, right? Before you get to Iowa, Kansas, and Nebraska. So until this year, Colorado was over-the-counter archery for a bull tag, and then it's the first state. And one other factor, it has the largest elk herd of the continental United States, or the United States, period. So it's got the largest elk herd. So if you're going to go out west from the East Coast, especially a state like, I don't know, Connecticut, which you can't get much further east other than Maine, where would you want to stop? In Colorado, or go a whole nother state through Colorado to like a place like Utah or Nevada or someplace like that? Well, me being who I am, I'm a little hard-headed. I said, I don't want to stop with all the East Coasters like a bunch of idiots just filling up the mountain with morons. I want to go to Utah, which has a good elk population. It may not be the biggest, but I want to go somewhere where it's a good elk population with less people, better opportunities. I'm not really as concerned. And here's something I'll say from the very beginning. Before you take on an adventure like this, you have to have expectations. If your expectation going into and we're just talking elk hunting right now, if your expectation going into hunting elk is that you are going to tag out, especially in your first couple years
with a bow,
you are setting yourself up for disappointment, because especially coming from the East Coast, if you've never done it. Because does anybody know, out of you guys, do you know what the success rate on elk hunting is with archery?
With the bow, I thought it was like less than 10%.
It's 10%, right?
Is it? Yeah, okay.
So if you equate that means that you can look at it one of a couple different ways. That means that you as a hunter will only tag out once every 10 years, or 10% of hunters are going to tag out each year. You're probably not going to be one of the 10% because I mean, you could be, but 10% is pretty low. So with that said, I wanted to go to a state where I knew that there would be less hunters, but I also set an expectation. One, we already said this, Steve, I'd never driven across the country. So last year, building this truck, you and I talked about it in great detail. You were building yours at the same time I was building mine, which I changed mine a little bit, by the way, because we were bouncing ideas off each other.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to build my truck. I wanted the adventure of driving out there. So that was part of it. Two, once I got there, being in elk country, I was like, I'm going to be in elk country. I don't even care if I kill one. To be walking around elk woods with a pack on my back, a bow in my hand, and smell and see these animals, I felt like I was a winner. So that I had already set my expectation. If I get to see an elk, hear one bugle, wake up in the elk weeks that I'm out there, and then come home after driving across the country that I'd never seen before with my own two eyes, I was a winner. Anything more than that was extra credit. Mm-hmm. So walking into it with that expectation, anything I walked away with more than that, I was going to have extra credit. So when I came home last year and I didn't kill one, I didn't feel like I lost anything. So when people were always like, guys that aren't like you guys, fellow hunters, when they ask me, they're like, so did you get anything? And I'm like, nah. And they're like, well, what'd you do? Why didn't you get something? It's like, let's pump the brakes, Turbo. You obviously don't understand how this works. Not to mention all the East Coast stuff that I talked about, us not understanding when you first get out there and you're like looking at these mountains, you're like, where is the top of that thing? You know what I'm saying? And you're realizing you're going to have to like work to get up there. And you're going to have to work to climb all around them. And there's trees that are this big and they're laying everywhere like pickup sticks. And you got to climb over top of all of these. It makes walking on these rocks around New England like it's nothing, And then these elk walk through the woods and their lungs are like the size of gas tanks on our F-150s. And they're just like breathing like it's nothing, walking up the mountains, and you're chasing them like you actually have a chance to catch them. And on top of all those things, when they say, what do you mean you didn't get one? You're like, you're obviously not a hunter. I don't even want to talk to you. So
or the first thing that they say to you is, did you catch anything?
Oh, my wife. That's my wife. I'm like, what do you think? I have a net or a fishing rod? Like, it's not catching, babe. So that was last season. Well, I changed my expectation a little bit for this season because we didn't see as many last year. For some reason, the amount of elk, I think they had a 100-year rain come through last year where they were having flooding and everything else. And I think it drove the elk out of the area. This year, quite the opposite. They've had drought. They got wildfires out there. We sat 2 nights, because I think it finally got it under control. 2 mountains over from us at camp, we could see the fires burning.
Wow.
It was crazy. So we sat there and watched the fires burning. But the elk was so much different. Now the unit I'm hunting was a limited entry unit, and don't worry, I didn't forget to tell you how I got there. The unit I was hunting was a limited entry unit, and so there's a whole nother challenge with understanding all the units I'll get into in a minute. In that unit, we could only have a cow spike tag unless you draw a bull tag. For us non-residents, we'd probably never draw one in our life.
Uh-oh. We lost him. Oh, right. He's back again. Hold on,
24:39.
I see you.
You're there. Sorry.
Right. Cut out right when you said we won't draw one in a lifetime.
Yeah, so we probably won't draw one in a lifetime, or it'll take anywhere from 15 to 20 years if we're lucky. Because the way those systems all work is they award the tags when they do the draw to the top 10, like usually it's like the top 10% or so. And and it starts with the residents and then it moves on to the non-residents. It's crazy. It's very complicated. But anyway, so we're a cow spike unit that I'm in. And I won't say the unit on here. I'll tell you guys later. But
Trev, if you're gonna fiddle around, mute yourself.
No, I'm just trying to write that down. Go ahead.
So we all have cow spike tags. Well, this year we saw a lot more elk than last year. Not just the little dots on the other side on the other mountains. We got into them. Like day one, we're going up this mountain. Me and this guy that I was with that I met out there, and we get to the top, and no, almost to the top, and we get down and we're like, oh shit, right there, dude. And it's not even fully full. The dawn hasn't even fully crested yet, and there was 5 bulls 20 yards from us.
Ooh.
Big bitches. One of them's a herd bull, and they're just wrestling with each other. And if we'd have had bull tags,
Right, you don't have a tag for these guys.
We don't have a tag for them.
Jeez.
If we'd have had a tag, we could have tagged out.
Oh.
We could have both shot them. They didn't even know we were there. 20 yards, dude. It'd been like throwing a dart at a dartboard. Think we could have shot at the same time and took out 2 of them.
Oh.
I mean, it was that easy. Broadside, wow. They're right there. These huge bulls, big racks, just clustered up together.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Brian. Where you are, especially in Utah, because the bull tag, like it might be easy to get a cow tag or a spike tag, but because the bull tags are so hard to get, isn't there a high population of trophy bulls in that area because there's not as many getting harvested every year?
So that's the plan for those limited entry units is to let the bulls grow to get bigger. Because and it does end up turning out that way, but you got to work for them. I mean, we were at some pretty hefty elevations to get to those bulls, and a lot of people don't want to work to get up there. And then later on, like the next day, day after, it doesn't matter. We saw 4 more bulls the same day, grouped up 2 together, 2 bachelors running together, and we looked over. There they were, 30, 40 yards away. Didn't even see us, and all of a sudden they heard us, and they went off, took off running. And you could hear their antlers clanking off trees and stuff. Sounds like hollow sticks hitting off trees. Just big son of a bitches running by. And then we saw later on, we saw 2 more running, different area. But we don't have bull tags. So we saw more bulls this year than we did cows and spikes. At one point, I had an opportunity on an elk. Me and this guy his name's Clint, was walking, and we were going together. He was just a little bit ahead of me, and he kept going. He didn't hear it. And elk kind of sounded like a cow. Like, I mean, they're basically very similar in their anatomy, even though they're an ungulate. They sound like a cow, and it was like gallop, almost like a horse galloping, right? And I heard it, and I was like, what the? So I just stopped. I just knocked an arrow, and I just slowly took some steps backwards. And I'm looking, and it's very brushy where we're at, thick, brushy environment. And I got my release on there, and I'm holding it. And I take out my rangefinder. I'm just ready. You know, if it ends up being a mule deer, it's a mule deer, but I doubted it. Just sounded too heavy. So it's evening, sun's going down behind me, and I look over, and right in front of me, I could see its black body breaking through some of the holes in the trees. So now I know it's an elk. So I'm like, I ranged like one of the trees in front of it. But, I mean, the elk vitals are massive, dude. They're just massive. Until you see one in person, you're a deer hunter, you're just unreal how much bigger it is. And So I finally get a spot where I can range it. I hit it, and it's like 40 yards. I'm like, this is cake. So I pull back, and I'm holding, and I'm waiting. There's this open spot coming where it's walking, and I can see it's headed that way. But I can't see its head. Because remember, I don't have a bull tag. And it can't be, it has to be a spike. And their spike definition is pretty, it can be kind of convoluted. So it can't be above the ear. So there was a guy that shot a spike a couple of years ago where it was one up, the second one went up, and then the branch came out below the ear, never branched off the two spikes. It had a whole rack, like 6 points. It was crazy. I mean, I would have mounted it.
But it was, by definition, it's the spike? Because it's below the ear.
Because the two main beams didn't have any branches. All the rest of it came off. It didn't come off the main beams.
Wow.
It was crazy looking. I'll see if I can find a picture. I'll send it to you. But so I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm holding back on it, and it comes into view, and I can see its head and face, and I can see it's got antlers, but I can't tell what, because the sun is hitting it right in the face. And it's looking at me, but it can't see me because its eyes are just filled with sunlight. And I'm like, I'm hitting right on the vital. I'm looking right at the vitals. And then all of a sudden, it turns its head, and he's got two points on the top of both sides. I'm like, oh, this is devastating. So I just let him turn his head, and he started walking away, and I let my bow down, and I just caught back up with Clint. I was like, this sucks.
That's tough.
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah, it was terrible.
Got you pumped, though.
Oh, yeah, I was ready.
Yeah.
On the first day, we went up to the day we saw the 5 bulls together. We went up. I thought I was going to be out. Anybody listening that's a bow hunter or hears this, here's a key for you. Now this year, Steve, I didn't drive. I flew.
Okay. Yep.
Because last year I went. My daughter's birthday falls on August 22nd, which is smack dab in the middle of their bow season. Which I have a whole thought on Utah's bow season. I'm not a fan of it. But let me just hit on one thing before we get way too off topic. The way I ended up getting out there was I'm on Utah's elk hunting web page on Facebook or something like that. And because I didn't want to go to Colorado, I told you the reason behind all that. I went to Utah's page and I said, hey, how's it going? You know, I put in for the limited entry draw for a bull tag. And I'll caution anybody. A lot of times these pages, people are just complete jerks on there, right? So I said, I don't need the smart ass comments, because I'm just going to warn you that I probably have a lot more experience being an asshole than you do, just from being in the Navy. So all I'm looking for is some advice. If you don't want to give it to me, just keep your comments to yourself. I said, here's what I'm asking. I said, if you can just point me in some sort of direction. If I don't get drawn for the limited entry, I'm coming to Utah to hunt. I've never been there. I don't even think I said I was retired from the Navy. And I said, I'm just looking for some advice. And this guy Josh reaches out to me, and he says, hey man, he sends me a message. He says, PM said, he says, if you want to come hunt with me and my friend Clint, you'll be more than welcome. Anything we can do to help a veteran, we'd love to have you come out. And I'm like, is this dude like some serial killer or something?
Yeah, here we go.
Good thing I'm not afraid to carry a gun with me. So I was like, really? Like, yeah, man. Clint did the same thing for me like 8 years ago. I was doing the same thing you're doing. And Clint offered for me to come up and hunt with him. And I've had a great time. Clint's an awesome dude. I was like, what? No, it doesn't work out like this for me. Well, sure shit, man. I went out there and met him. And, dude, 2 of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life. Like, super open arms. Clint's great. Josh is awesome. And lasting friendship from the two of them, and met a couple other guys while we were out there, Bob and some other dudes, and yeah, it's really awesome, and it just worked out, man. They opened up their arms to us.
There is good things that come out of those Facebook groups. I know that they're hard to find and it's tough, and a lot of us, like good people in quotation marks, are kind of hidden in some of those groups, but we still troll and watch those things,
Yeah,
and like Steve said last week on the podcast, or this week on the podcast, the one that comes out tomorrow, like we just don't comment anymore. You just do the same thing Josh did and just
Exactly.
Right. Message them on the side, man. I don't need anybody's stupid comments. I
I
don't
do the
need your
same thing
wise
all the
ass stuff.
time. I do the same thing. I'm just like less likely to comment, more likely to send a message because it's just easier than dealing with the bullshit. Because you comment, try to help somebody, and the next thing you know, you get 50 comments of people bashing you for whatever you said, and you're like, "Whoa, dude, pump the brakes, man! I'm trying to help this guy.
I'm trying to help this guy. Who the fuck are you? Like, why?
Yeah.
I didn't even ask for your opinion.
Right? Yeah, it's wild, dude.
It's nuts, but it's not even worth. It's not even worth using your energy on.
Moral of the story is, good things do come from those Facebook pages that usually come from a private message.
Yeah.
Right. And it worked out. And I mean, these guys are great, and we'll hunt with them as long as I'm able to do it. But so day one, we're way up there. I think we were at 10,400 feet. We were way up there, and we were looking around, and we were up on this. At the tops of the mountains, you start losing vegetation. You get on the sledge rock, where it's just like piles of rock where the continental shelf came and started pushing up, and it just took the rock with it. And they're just boulders on top because you're like, how did these boulders get here? Well, that's where it came from when the shelf pushed the Rocky Mountains up. Well, we were coming down, and I found out I got a torn meniscus in my knee. So my knee it's been a little bit unstable. And I was coming down, and I didn't have one of my trekking poles with me. I was using my stabilizer as like to help balance me on some of the really steep parts that come down. And I set my stabilizer down, and I went to step down, and it slipped out from underneath me. And I set my bow down to grab me. Just instant reaction, right? Well, I didn't get hurt. I didn't even get like a scrape or anything because the bow caught me. But it sounded like metal on metal. And I'm like, what in the fuck was that? So I start looking at the bow, like as I get to a place where I can sort of look at it. And I have a Hoyt. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like,
I'm sorry.
Don't be. So I'm looking at it, and I don't see anything. I'm like, there's got to be something. Well, I knew the hood from the quiver caught. And I saw some scrapes on it. But that's plastic. I'm like, it's not that. What is it? What was the metal part? Well, then I looked, and the back bar, the back stabilizer had some of the just the coating on the carbon rubbed off. I'm like, well, that's easy enough. So then I started looking some more, and one of the legs that comes down, same thing. I'm like, well, if that's it, I can live with that. I wish that was it, right? This is day one, opening day. We'd been there like 2 days.
This is this year, not last
year. This year.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll grab it.
It must not have gotten fixed then.
I was confused because we backed up to how he met those guys last year. So I'm making sure this story was from this past. This is literally like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
So I'm coming down, and I get down to another spot where it's a little bit more flat so I can look at it. I got the bow all broken apart because it's so freaking dusty out there. I got to rebuild it now that I got new strings. You can probably see it. So what happened is, not only did I scrape on there, but I cut through about halfway through my string and one of my cables when I hit that rock.
It's like shale, like sharp shale.
Yeah,
rock?
it's real. It's like red rock.
Yeah,
it cut right through, halfway through here and halfway through there. So why did I tell you I flew this time, Steve? You're like, what does that have to do with this? Well, you're limited on weight when you fly because 50 pounds. Do you want to pay $150 or $40? When you start, you got to pack, you got to carry on, and you got your bow case. Did you guys know that if you fly with a bow case and tell them it's a bow, they'll count it as sporting equipment, and they'll only charge you $50, even though it's oversized.
No.
Keep that in mind. Yeah, that's good for your listeners. Well, anyway, check this out. I was really careful to keep it under 50 pounds. So I started like, usually when I go out there, I take 2 bows with me, a backup bow and a primary. Well, I didn't have even half of my, like I have, if I was driving, I would have a whole kit to work on this thing. Because you're in Utah, like it's 3 hours to the closest bow shop. We're an hour out of town up in the mountains. Well, I'm like, hey guys, does anybody have serving material? Because I didn't bring any. My whole bow repair kit that I take with me on trips like this to Pennsylvania, if we, up into the bear place, everything, I would take that with me. I didn't have it because I was watching my weight because I'm flying. And I'm limited in space on my pack, right? Because I'm carrying this shit. And none of those guys know how to work on their own stuff. They just go to a bow shop. Like, I don't have to. I got like some thread. I'm like, thread? What's thread going to do for me? So then I'm like, well, maybe I can use some like Gorilla Tape. I'm like, that's not going to work. I'm like, super glue? This all going through my head. I'm asking myself these questions as I'm coming
with what you have.
Right? Because so this stuff is just like, and I'm looking at it like this thing's gonna just part ways like the Red Sea on the way down this thing. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? So then it hits me about halfway down the mountain going back towards camp. I'm like, I got paracord. The threads on the inside of paracord
is serving.
I'm gonna serve these sections of the bowstring with that. And serve the shit out of it as tight as I can get it. Like a half an inch on either side of this tear, and that'll hold it. And if I can use it to get 2 shots off, I'm thinking to myself, I need 2 shots. The first one and a follow-up. If I can get 2 shots off this bow blowing up my face, I'll be all right.
Have you tried to shoot it since you fixed it?
I shot at a cow, and let me tell you something. A deer takes 1 jump. How far do you think they move when they take
10 yards?
Cow probably takes like 1 jump. It goes like 20. Well, I shot at one and she took 2 leaps. I ranged her for 40. Bitch was probably like 65 yards when the arrow let go. She just got away, man.
So you stripped down the paracord, which, by the way, I feel like everyone should know that, but I bet you there's a lot of people out. I think paracord is very underrated, right? And I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, people use it for dental floss, but who would have thought
real genuine paracord, there's usually 7 strands of fiber inside the casing, and a lot of people don't realize that you can rip it apart, and that's why paracord is such a survival thing. Anyways, so you rip the paracord apart, you take the strands out the inside, you serve up your string. Were you able to check it on a target to see if it was still on? Hopefully it comes right back real quick.
I'm still here.
Yeah. So did you check it? Was it still on? Like, did you have to re-sight in or anything?
So I didn't want to take the chance and have this thing like
That's what I was thinking. He said 2 shots.
Nothing else was wrong with it because it didn't like stretch it, or I checked all that stuff. Because as you know, Steve, I work on all my own stuff. I build my own bows and everything.
Very anal with your setups, yes.
I looked at everything and I was satisfied that it would do exactly what I wanted. And when I shot at that cow, it was on. It just went under her because she jumped.
Well, my first thought would be,
and I'm shooting fixed broadheads.
If anything, if it was going to change anything, so you had to reserve your string and your cable.
Yeah, here I'll show you again.
My only thought would be you might have lost
a little bit of length,
feet per second, because the string's going to be a little bit slower when you add shit to the string.
It's not going to be that much. See.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's wild.
Goddamn MacGyver.
You're not going to lose enough. That's like saying we were talking about earlier. That'd be almost the same as saying taking a regular knockout of an arrow and putting a lighted one in.
Yeah.
What's it going to drop? Is it going to drop it like maybe an inch or two?
Right. Yeah.
It's negligible. This would have been a negligible change,
especially on an elk.
Right.
Yeah.
At 4 pie plates, you're shooting at 4 pie plates, not 2. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially on an elk that's got vitals the size of a stop sign.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's wild.
Yeah. So
that's cool though.
Keep that in mind. Paracord, if you don't, just take serving material, people. Take serving material and beeswax. If you got to put it in your pocket to carry it on the airplane so you can get it there.
Worth it.
Yeah. I mean,
is it a military thing in you though, as a survivalist thing that like you kind of knew in the paracord kind of thing, or was it?
I don't know. I kept racking my brain about I got to have something that can fix this thing, and then the paracord hit me because I always bring that.
Yeah,
I got that in my truck. I got it here. I got it everywhere. And then I was like, the paracord.
I probably shouldn't say this on air because this could be $1 million idea here. But you know how they have paracord now, where when you take it apart, like one of the fibers is like a fire tinder, or one of them's like a fishing line and shit like that. We need to come out with a paracord that one of the fibers on the inside
serving material. Yeah. Another thing. This is 2 years now. This has happened to me while we're talking about bow maintenance. All your stuff. So 2 things have happened to me. 3 things, really. So when we drive around out there, we ride around in side-by-sides that those guys own. All the roads are like, you might as well be running on like washboards. Everything comes loose. Everything. Just blue Loctite your shit. Your stabilizers. If you got, whatever. I don't know. I know you're running Bowtech now, Steve, or unless you changed, and whatever you're running, if it's something that could come loose, even if you've got Allen wrenches, like my bottom stabilizer or my the ones that hold the feet in, this thing is the next 2 Allens up from my biggest one on my smallest Allen wrench. I could barely get this thing tight enough with my Swiss Army knife I had in my pocket. And it was rattling around, making all kinds of stupid noise. I felt like taking the damn thing off. But anyway, just blue Loctite everything in. Last year, these are the modules.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember me telling you about that one, Steve. The module, Hoyt fixed it on this one, but these module screws backed out on my Alpha X last year, like a week before the season. Before I was going to be driving, and I pulled back. I was practicing, and I just kept pulling, and I was like, "What?" What happened is it backed out, and this thing just kept going around because the module came off, and it just kept pulling, and it bent the module. I had the bent module over there, and I went to.
And there's no stopping it, right? It just keeps going. Yeah.
The screw came out. Yeah, and it bent the hell out of it, and my bow was all bound up. I went to see Bill, rest his soul. And
I still haven't been back, dude. Like I haven't been there.
I haven't either.
I can't. Soon, I think I'm due, but.
And he took a module off a bow that was on the shelf and put it on there. And we fixed my bow and everything, and I was out the door. But yeah, it's
probably had like a tote with a bunch of just modules, and he was like digging through them and like throwing modules at the sides. Like yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. He helped me get it fixed because he knew I was leaving.
He's the man. But I tell you what, I mean, that's a whole topic I think that gets overlooked by a lot of people too, especially anyone that's never been on like a hunting trip.
Right, because you're going where you got to take everything to survive your bow. Like we all think about like food. We think about like I need 3 pairs of boots. Do you really need 3 fucking pairs of boots? Like let's face it, man. Like you need a pair, and you tell yourself you need a backup pair in case they get wet. And then you're like, well, I need a pair in case those get wet and the other ones get wet. And, if it's raining and then, like, if I step in. No, you don't.
Just bring extra socks.
Extra socks, yeah.
You need extra socks and a way to dry them. You know how you're going to dry them? You're going to dry them next to the fire. And if you can't burn a fire like we couldn't this year, you probably don't need extra boots because there's no water.
There's no
water.
Yeah.
Really, the moral of the story is, don't plan for your fears, plan for what you really need. Because a lot of people plan for their fears. They bring like 17 flashlights, 47 knives, 87 different ways to make fire. It's
extra shoelaces when they could have just used paracord.
Right. And all that stuff is just more weight and junk you don't need.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have 6 cans of bear spray in black bear country. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to bring a can of bear spray, bring a can of bear spray. Like, you don't need all this extra stuff. And I'm totally getting off topic, but that's more in the lines of like how to prepare for especially a big trip like this. Like, don't plan for your fears. A lot of people are afraid of the dark.
More than you expect.
A lot of people are afraid of the dark.
Yeah,
like,
more.
It gets dark. The headlamps come on. They look like a semi truck going down a road, and they are walking faster than they do in Times Square. It's like, what are you afraid of, man? Do you not know where you're going? Like Onyx, figure it out. And I'll tell you, that was a big. Not being afraid of dark. I'm not afraid of dark, but it was a big adjustment for me, trusting navigation, because it's one thing around here going somewhere because you're just a house away. If you get like lost, you go to someone's house like, hey, where the hell am I? Oh, you're on such and such road. Oh, cool, thanks, appreciate it. Out there, you get lost in them woods. There's no houses.
Well, a lot of people forget the fact of a lot of people don't know how to use compasses.
No,
like that is not a normal thing for a lot of people. Like, yeah, they're outdoorsmen and stuff, but don't know how to use a compass, which blows my mind. And that's like one-on-one woodsmanship, but
yeah, it's a lost skill.
Super lost skill. They just look at their GPS.
Talk about that earlier today, Steve. Like, that's one of this is a compass.
And a backup one, right? You always have a backup one too.
No. I have one compass. I don't plan for that fear.
Oh.
I think who the hell was who was it? Joe from Adirondack Chalkers talk about carrying 2 compasses, and it's not a backup.
I don't know.
It's it's to confirm that sometimes you don't trust your compass.
Well, no, because you have.
So you check both compasses and they're both pointing in the same direction. You know that it's true.
I mean, I could see that because some people have magnetic north.
Yeah, correct. That would be the more reason of why of having 2 compasses. One is magnetic north.
If you're concerned about that, I would, instead of carrying like 2 physical like handheld ones. I'm sorry, I would just get the one that goes on the wrist, not a digital one. They like Sunto or whoever makes one that you can put on your wrist. It's like a watch, and you just forget you even have it. It's there if you're really that concerned about it. You have it.
Yeah. Brian, I do want to break into what your podcast is and kind of why you've started it and how that all goes for you, because I think that it's a super big topic that we need to talk about. And I know we kind of got lost in the train tracks of hunting and elk hunting and stuff, but I still, I would love to talk about it.
Sure. What do you want to know,
So tell us a little bit about it, how it started, the reason why, and what the outdoor does for you.
All right. So the way it started, for those that don't know, I've been sober for, April, it was 2 years. So, you can do the math on that one. I struggled with alcohol for the better part of 25 years and, different varying phases of it as far as like the severity of alcoholism and, what pushed me to finally decide enough was enough is I've talked about it on my podcast. I'll give a glazed over kind of Cliff Note high level version of it just so that we don't take too much time because you can always go to mine and just listen to it. But I had a health scare with my gallbladder, and when I went in to get it checked out, they didn't even tell me that was kind of the ironic part is none of the medical professionals told me. I'm kind of a nosy person when it comes to my own health. I looked at the summaries and the write-ups, and it talked about how my liver was pretty messed up. And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, like I'm 42, about 42, 43 years old, and I'm not going to be around to see my youngest daughter graduate high school at the rate I'm going. And for years I knew I needed to get this shit under control, but I just couldn't figure out how. I told myself I was going to quit in the past, never could do it. Told myself I was going to I'll just drink less, or I won't drink during the week, or I won't do this, or I won't do that. Nothing ever worked. But when I saw the report about my liver, I had an ultrasound and a CAT scan. That was like, everybody always says you got to hit some sort of rock bottom, which I don't really feel is the case. But for me, that kind of like was it for me. So I talked to my wife, and I asked her to help me get through it. And for the better part of the 2 years, my first 2 years of sobriety, it was just me working through my own journey. And then I finally talked to her one day and I said, hey, I think I want to try to help other people. But I don't think it's tough, because here's the thing. I think going out there and trying to just grab people by the shoulders and shake them and tell them to do something, people don't want advice, right? They don't want advice. I could sit here till I'm blue in the face and show you guys all these arrow builds and tell you need to do them a certain way. You're going to be like, man, this guy doesn't know shit. I'm going to go build my arrows my way, right? Because everybody's got, especially nowadays with so much information out there on the internet, everybody formulates their own opinions on what's right and what's going to work best for them, which I think is great. I do the same shit. But at the same time, because there's an avenue for us to put information out and be one of those places for people to get information, I felt like there was a way for me to be able to do it in a fashion that could touch other people. And if I could get one person to listen to it and say, I can relate to that. I feel like I could take something away from that to apply it to my journey, and then maybe help them along the way. I couldn't see how I couldn't do it. So I talked to her. I told her what I wanted to do. I had a really close friend of mine who had been sober longer than I was. I think he's been 5 years now. And I said, hey, here's my plan. Here's what I'm thinking. Would you want to be a part of it? And he was totally on board. And can you still hear me? Okay. He was totally on board. And I said, all right, dude, so let's do this thing. And so we started working on it, and we started making the podcast, and it's been met with such positive response. We haven't done one. The plan is to start back up next week, just because our summer has been just packed full of stuff between his kids, his vacation, same with my side. We went to Paris for my brother-in-law's wedding, and then obviously I've had my elk hunt and everything, and then I just got back, so it's been a little bit crazy, but our plan is to start them back up. We've got some other guests lined up, and some of the guests are not just going to be people that have been in recovery. Some of them are like, we had one guest on. He's an attorney that works with parents that have had their children taken away because of their substance abuse, and he's a retired senior chief who went to law school, and now that's what he does, is tries to help them reconnect with their kids. So it's definitely important to me to try to help other people, because it took me a long time to realize how much it was affecting me and the people around me.
I don't think that you know what's gone until what you're missing until it's gone, kind of thing, right? Like I think
I
that like
agree.
that's a huge part of all of that, is like you don't understand what you're missing because you're so sucked up in it, and you can't function,
Right.
you can't do your thing, like it's a tough thing, dude. That's a tough way to live life. It's a tough thing. Do you think that the outdoors is kind of, obviously that's became your addiction, right? I obviously, or bow building anyways, and do you think that that has kind of played a part in it, like an easier step to?
Oh yeah, I think the outdoors is like my
Mm-hmm.
therapy in a way, because between so and I think the reason why elk hunting has worked for me, where I think it's so difficult for other people, back to my point earlier about the East Coast going out there is because it's such a challenge to go do it where it gives me the reason to do it. And what I mean by that is like I'm able to use that as a catalyst for me to focus on, to work towards constantly. So if you ever, if you've looked at any of my stuff on Instagram or whatever, I'm always like, everything is preparing for that. And sometimes I get lazy and I don't make videos, but I'm still doing it. Like I'm still out there running. I'm still out there working out. I'm still out there trying to be physically ready, or, shooting my bow or building something down here. Or every day I'm working at something towards being ready to go elk hunt because of how challenging it is. And what that does is there we go. And what that does is that helps me, keep my mind centered on that instead of other things that are obviously destructive. And
yeah, that's a very common thing with anybody, I think, that is trying to kick any kind of habit, right? They usually find something to replace that energy and mental capacity with, whether it be the outdoors or whatever they choose to kind of almost obsess over, right?
Yeah, somebody might pick up coffee, they go down that path, or they might get into shooting long-range rifles or whatever. They usually find something that's going to absorb that energy they were putting towards whatever their substance of abuse was.
Which is a good thing, right? Because some of those the people that have that addiction, they have an addictive personality and they just turn it to something else and they become a master in their craft because they
in a
just
positive way.
Right, and they compulsively are addicted to doing that one thing, which is a great thing. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as the hardest thing is the first step, right? Like any of that, I think that's the hardest step.
I talk about that a lot. So, and I'll say it like this: like every morning that someone wakes up after, and I'll just speak in the context of drinking. Every morning that somebody wakes up after a hard night of drinking that hasn't admitted that they're an alcoholic yet, but knows they are, and they say, oh, "I really need to quit," or that's them picking the foot up, right? When they say, "I need to get some help," or "I need to quit," or "I need to stop doing this," they're picking the foot up. And then if they go back to drinking again, they're setting it back down. When they finally commit to doing, it's a combination of two things. This is all Brian's opinion too. It's not by science or medical or some educated therapist. This is all Brian's opinion. If they finally commit to doing a combination of two things, saying I want help and admitting that they have a problem, whether it's saying I'm an alcoholic or whatever, they put the foot down, taking that first step in the right direction.
Right.
And that's the hardest part to do. And it wasn't until I walked into my dining room and I sat down, my daughter, I don't think my daughter was in there, but my wife was. And I said, I need you to help me.
That's a scary thing. That's scary to have to go to that point where you have to ask for help like that. That's a scary, scary thing.
It was very, not only was it scary, but it was extremely humbling because here I am, supposed to be this tough guy, alpha male, willing to admit that I had that much of a problem that I couldn't do it on my own. But I was at my point where I knew I couldn't do it on my own.
Yeah. And it sucks that you have to.
The cool thing is once you get through, so I test it like this. For me, like alcoholism is like that demon around the corner, right? Until you get to the point where you're able to admit it, that fucker is always peeking around the corner at you, right? It's just looking at you like, yeah, I'm right here, dude. When you finally admit it, now he's out in the open. Now it's easy, right? It's like, yeah, right here's this is my buddy alcoholic. Him and I were friends. Like, so when you go to places, like let's say all three of us were drinking buddies for years, right? And I had never admitted it. And then all of a sudden when I show up, it's Friday, we're hanging out just like we always did. And you guys are like, hey man, come on over, dude. We're doing it. Just like every other Friday, we're doing shots or whatever. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. And you guys are like, what? What's up with Brian? He's usually the one pouring them. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm not drinking. What are you driving? No, I'm just not drinking. Now it's weird, right? But the minute I let the demon come out from around the corner, and I admit to you guys I got a problem, and he's right here out in the open, and he's standing there with me. Now all of a sudden you guys are like, oh, all right, cool, dude. Yeah, that's no problem. Now the conversation's like, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe people stick up for it. It's like when you two see somebody else giving me shit about not drinking, you're like, hey man, just leave him alone. He's not drinking, dude. It's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Because now
Yeah,
it's out in the open.
100%. 100%.
It's easier. It's easier. The hardest step's the hardest, but once it's done, the rest of the steps become easier.
Yeah.
I got a question to tie this all together, though, because I didn't know how long, I didn't know your time frames or whatever. So you said you've been sober, probably over 2.5 years now, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about timing with you always wanting to go elk hunting, your career, retiring, COVID, and all that stuff. But it sounds like you kind of got sober right around the time you really started planning this elk hunt, the first one, right? So if you had not gotten sober, do you think you ever go elk hunting?
Absolutely not. There's so much of my life I wouldn't have done if I wouldn't have got sober. Elk hunting being a huge one. I would have never gone elk hunting.
Right.
No way. I wouldn't have done a lot of the things.
You'd have the time, the energy, the thought process, the motivation,
money, the give a shit. None of it.
No.
Like last year, I just did. I don't know if you guys saw. I just did.
Oh yeah, dude, this
tough ruck.
Yeah,
that tough ruck. I did that up in Boston, where you walk 26.2 miles with a pack on your back. I would have never done that.
Was it 35 pounds? 30?
I did it with 20. I think it was 27. There's two weight classes. You got 15 and 45-pound weight class, or 35-pound weight class. I was in the 15 because I knew I was going to go elk hunting and I didn't want to tear up anything. And I already had knee problems bothering me. So I did the 15, but it was like a 27. My pack weighed like 27 pounds. They're like, do you just want to go to the other one? I'm like, no, because I got food in here. I'm going to eat through the food. I'm going to drink through the water. I think I ended up at like 22 pounds at the end of it.
So, just for the listeners, you basically walked a marathon.
Yep.
With 27 pounds on your back. Yep. Now, this is the Sunday before the Boston Marathon, right?
Sunday before the Boston Marathon.
In the Boston area, but it's not the actual Boston Marathon course, right?
No, it's a different course, and it's just outside of the Boston, like the city of Boston. It's just outside of it.
Dude, that's
awesome.
Super cool. It's so awesome. I'm gonna say I want to do it with you, but I don't know how bad I want.
If you say you want, you're not going to. You got to say you're gonna do it.
Yeah,
exactly what I'm saying.
You get awarded the Boston Marathon medal.
Yeah, dude, it's so awesome, dude. I was following you through that whole thing. It's
so cool.
I'm doing it again. The only thing that would stop me from doing it is if they do surgery on my knee for this meniscus, and I'm physically unable.
Dude, I know this podcast is like all over the place, and like we could probably record for another hour easily. What's the training like for that? Because I'm not a runner, obviously.
So my training, I'll tell you, when you guys see me doing stuff, this is what I always tell people. So I got guys in my office that are kind of like the big muscle guys that are like, they just lift weights, they just want to look really big and strong, and they like drink a lot of protein and this. My training centers around endurance.
Mm-hmm.
Endurance for the mountains. Because if I weighed 40 pounds more, but I had like these giant biceps and a big broad chest, that's not going to help me in the mountains.
No.
Right? It's not going to help me.
You just look good.
Right. I want to be able to perform at the highest level possible. So lung capacity, legs day every day. I want to be able to do as much as I can endurance wise. So when you say, what do you have to do training for that? You just got to put in the miles, bro. Whether that's doing some running, putting a pack on your back and rucking, you just got to put in the miles.
So I guess my question is like, as if you're running the Boston Marathon, they have like a regimen where they like, they'll run like 10 miles and then they'll peak out like 2 weeks before and then they run the marathon. Did you build up to like so many miles so you knew you were ready to do the full?
I didn't do anything like that. I had just been I go back to my goal is to be as ready for the mountains as I can, and I knew that would be able to accomplish this.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, Steve.
It's weird he keeps cutting out, but he comes right back. Oh, I jinxed him.
Yeah, are we still there?
You're there.
Yeah.
What's the thing about it?
Here's the biggest thing about all of it. At the end of the day, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
When people decide to quit, they still got about 40 to 50% of their ability left in them. So if you're
what's going on?
If you're quitting, if you're like, oh, I just don't think I could keep going, you got probably about 40 to 50% of your ability still left to go.
Right.
So I did that. Found this out here recently because the pain was already there. I did that tough ruck with a torn meniscus.
Wow.
So it's in your head. Like, yes, don't get me wrong. Like, I wouldn't recommend to anybody doing something like that if you like have been sitting around and not doing anything. But if you can walk and you're not a complete lazy, totally unhealthy, like if you have heart problems, I wouldn't recommend it. If your doctor tells you like, you do your normal physical and they're like, yeah, you're not like unhealthy, you can do physical activity. If you go out there and do hunting and walking around and that sort of, you could probably do it. It's 15 pounds. And if you decide to quit at like mile 18, it's because you want to quit, not because you're physically unable to.
How far? What was the farthest you rocked with, say, over 15 pounds prior to the day of the marathon?
That'd be my phone, my computer.
Yeah. I don't know did you hear that or no?
No, I didn't hear you.
What was the farthest distance you had rocked with, say, more than 15 pounds prior to the day of the marathon?
Rucked? I think I did like maybe 10 miles at the most.
And then just showed up and did the 26.2?
But I had been running and doing a lot of physical stuff leading up to that. I knew I was going to do it.
You were just training for it.
Nobody's going to tell me I wasn't going to do it.
Dude, I got a funny story for you. Trev, you don't know this story yet either. So one thing me and Brian have in common, we've both had the cops called on us while training. So a couple years ago, I was rucking. I got the cops called on me at 6 o'clock in the morning for rucking down the road with a camo backpack on. They thought I was a suspicious person at 6 in the morning. Brian got the cop called on him. I think you were wearing a high altitude mask down the road, right?
Yeah, this was in the middle of the day.
Yeah. So my dad's been walking because he's got a moose hunt coming up in a week, right? So he's been walking every day after work. Well, when he walks, he wears like a leafy suit because it's a bug suit.
He's totally getting the cops called on him.
Yeah, this is like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The state troopers showed up, rolled up on him because they got reports of a guy walking down the road in a ghillie suit.
Oh my God. This is the world we live in today.
People are so
Dad's like, Dad, he's like, yeah, man, can't wear my bug net no more because they call it a ghillie suit. And I was like, fuck them, dude. They can get used to seeing you. You don't have to stop wearing it.
Do it every day. Do it every day. They'll get used to it.
But 10 years ago, 5 years ago, nobody cared. But for some reason, now we have all these problems. And
dude, 5 years ago, we were walking into banks with masks on, and people were telling us if we didn't have one on to get out.
Yeah. Now you can't walk down the street with a high altitude mask on.
Yeah, this is the world.
It was the middle of the day, dude. It was smoking hot outside. It was like July because I was leaving in August. And I'm walking outside. I got a high altitude mask on, 70 pounds in my pack. I'm coming up my hill, getting ready to. I'm 100 yards from my house, and I see this cop rolling towards me, and I'm like, oh shit. He's just gonna go by. And as I'm like getting out of his way, he's getting further in my way. and he blocks me. And I'm like, at first, you know what I thought, Steve? At first, I might have told you, I thought it was one of the guys that comes in the shop all the time.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, it's just one of the guys messing with me. And then he gets out, and of course, it's one of the guys I recognize. But he's like, hey, man, what's going on? I'm like, what's up, dude? How you doing? He's like, yeah, looking like Bane. What's up, man? He's like, yeah, we just got a report of a guy. Yeah, I'm the guy. Like, I got my bag.
It's not a secret.
Right. He's like, I recognize you. I was like, yeah, I own a barber shop down the road. He's like, well, I know. He's like, what? You don't have anything crazy in there, do you? I was like, yeah, I got 75 pounds of sand. You want to see it? So I take the bag off. I'm like, here, you can look, man. I don't want you to have any concerns. He's like, no, I believe you. So I open up the bag, show him, and it's like so hot that day. I just remember it, like the mask was actually sweating off my face. It was like sliding and stuff. And he's like, yeah, some lady called it. And I'm like, well, tell her that it's her neighbor. And I'm out here getting ready for an elk hunt in Utah. And so then he's like, dude, you're fine. I was like, I don't even have my ID. It's at the house.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, they called it in. I hear the lady saying, yeah, he lives in the neighborhood. He's fine. So it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I had almost the same exact, I didn't have the mask on, but same story, man. It's like,
But these kids can bebop around in mopeds with straight black masks on all over the
Oh, yeah,
place, and
they're allowed to
nobody
do that.
messes around with them. That's the weirdest thing ever.
that's
But us,
profiling. Profiling's wrong.
yeah, I could make this way worse, but I'll just leave it alone.
Of course.
It's not us. It's not us. We're not transgender. So
Yeah. We're not Cracker Barrel.
I'll leave you with one last thing, unless you guys got a bunch more, but I'll give you one last thing about Utah that drives me nuts. Love hunt Utah. Their archery season is at the worst time. So
Why?
oh, you said this earlier.
Yeah.
yep,
But
I told you I was going to tell you. I told you I was going to circle back to it. So their archery season takes place. It opens. I can't remember the date now off the top of my head. It's like
19, I thought was when you left.
yeah, and I got there. I'd have to look. It's like the tail end of August, and it goes till like the 5th of September or something. You looking it up?
I'm just looking at the calendar. I thought you left around the 18th or 19th.
Yeah, something
No,
like
you
that.
came back the 22nd.
Yeah, I just don't remember.
Anyway, yeah. It's about somewhere around mid August.
Yep. I left on the 13th. Yeah.
And
Anyway.
came back. Yeah.
Because his daughter's birthday. It's the 22nd.
The 22nd is her birthday. The bad part about it, and we talked about this, me and the guys talked about this. The bad part about it is the elk are just starting to rut at the end of their season. So they're, and I'm sure they're doing it for management purposes. It's the only thing I can make sense of. At least that's what I'd like to think. I'd like to think that their DNR is smart enough to do something like that. Not that they're all that smart. But anyway, so what happens is their elk are, the bulls are not rutting, so they're super skittish. The cows are not all harromed up yet, so they're just running around kind of like in little small groups, not all herded into one big harem. And what you end up with is it's like hunting whitetail. You know what I'm saying? It's like hunting whitetail on a species that you're not supposed to hunt like whitetail. Because on any other state where their elk season starts in September and the bulls are starting to really start rutting and they're getting their hormones all turned on, and the big herd bulls are like herding up their herds, and the satellites are like, yeah, I'm trying to like be the man and piss off the herd bull and keep all the other satellites away. They don't give a shit. And you could walk around and you could be a little bit more aggressive. You know, you're not tiptoeing like you're whitetail hunting. And then all the cows are one big herd. So they're not as like, oh no, I just heard something, I got to run away. But Utah, they start their archery season before all that. So you're like tiptoeing through the woods. You know, you hear a cow, you hear an elk, and you're like, hold still. Did you hear that? I think I was an elk. And it's like, elk season's not supposed to be like that. So it's tough. It's tough hunting elk in Utah because for archery, because that's how the season lines up. Just something to keep in mind if you decide.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so don't go to Utah.
how early is it?
So Brian can keep hunting him there.
Well, how much better would it be, say, if you stayed home for your daughter's birthday?
So I
and
did
hunted,
that last
like
year.
first week of September instead.
So usually you need three of anything, just like shooting 3 arrows to get a trend, right? Last year I stayed home, went out there. We didn't see shit. This year I went out for the first week, saw a lot more, but the weather patterns were so different from the 2 years. You know, last year's weather pattern was so wet compared to this year. This year's weather pattern was so dry compared to last year. I need one more year to figure that out. Next year, I'm probably going to hunt. She's going to be 9. I've already kind of got the pass from the boss to stay out there for the whole duration. So I'll be able to see the front and the other side of her birthday. So I'll get a good snapshot of both, and be able to have a report on, was it better the first half or the second half of the season, and see how it goes.
Hell yeah.
Better than that. I guess that's the right way to do it.
Right.
Just watch the whole thing.
Just watch the whole movie. Don't just stop it halfway through and then
That's
wait till
right.
next year to finish it.
If you're going, you might as well make it worth it. It's only a short period of time, so.
Right. It's just been tough with her birthday right in the middle.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
With her being young, but it'll be good. It'll be a good one.
That's good.
Elk hunting is so fun, man. So fun. It's so different. But yeah, it'll be good.
Brian, we got one last question, man, before we turn you loose, man. And what that is what drives you outdoors?
Oh man, I'll tell you, it's so simple. It's just the feeling of being out there. And I got up early every single morning I was out there before everyone else. And the reason I did was because I just wanted to be out by myself and just hear nothing. And even hear, you know, I don't know what the percentage is. I heard somebody say once it was like 80% of the population lives east of the Mississippi or some shit like that. It's probably not that high, but it's pretty high. I loved waking up in the morning and just being out there by myself. And out there, you don't hear a thing. You don't hear a car. You don't hear a motorcycle. You don't even hear like dogs barking. You don't hear anything. And that connection with nature is just, it's what it is. I mean, it's just unreal.
Can you just tell everybody where they can find your podcast? Tune in to Stack and Win Show.
So we have an Instagram page, Stack and Win Show podcast, and then we're gonna start back putting them out, and they're out once we get them going again. They'll be out on Fridays. Wins Show podcast YouTube channel.
Fantastic. Brian, we really appreciate you jumping on, and everyone that tuned in and listened, we really appreciate it. Go and check out Brian, his podcast, all the good things he's got going on. And for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive. Ba, ba, ba.